A talk show that cuts to the truth, no matter how painful it might be, and no BS. Citizen Smith, Citizen Smith, Citizen Smith.
Here's a man who would not take it anymore. A man who stood up against the scum, the dogs, the filth. Here is someone who stood up.
It's time for Citizen Smith.
Hey, how are you this morning? Ken Smith, also known as Citizen Smith here at TalkCast PDX. In studio with me for a while now. We haven't talked, haven't seen him. He's been out and about. He's returned.
Hey.
Ray Lane.
Hey.
Citizen Lane. Citizen Ray.
Wonderful.
Black and white segment.
It's good to be back.
Somehow, some way, it'll become a racial discussion or a discussion of race. Even if we're talking about the Proud Boys, I'm not sure which way I'm looking here. We get this. Okay, I'll just forget about the cameras. Anyway, so Ray, you're up to speed on this. We had our little clash the other day, Sunday, with the Proud Boys.
Mm-hmm.
You say
with an emphasis on little.
Yeah, they kept saying there was going to be a clash between two groups, and they never really identified the groups in any of the news stories. They said right-wing group and an anti-fascist group.
Antifa, basically.
So that why don't they ever say the names of the groups? If you know it, the news outlets must know it.
Well, it's like that whenever a fan runs onto a soccer pitch.
They don't want to show
they
the
don't
fan.
film it anymore.
Is that
right?
what it's come down?
The
media is editing itself so not to promote the groups.
So not to promote and
Is
to give attention to.
All right. So, but we will say it.
Absolutely.
Antifa is the anti-fascist. So, in other words, they're against
fascism.
They're against authoritarianism.
Right, which is a bad thing, apparently.
Which it is. Nobody likes totalitarian, but I don't...
No, being anti-totalitarian is a bad thing.
So, I don't know if their message is really clearly... Or are they just looking for trouble, the anti-fascists, who are supposed to be against authoritarianism?
It's reactionary, it's all. I mean, I talked to a few people that are on the left, through Instagram, Facebook, and just some conversations. And my question to them was, why even show up? Let them, the 2 or 100, whatever little group of boys playing with guns, let them walk down the streets and do their thing. And just if no one shows up, they've got there's nothing to clash with. Just why even bother? It's not worth it.
Okay, so the other group is the Proud Boys you've identified.
Boys. The boys with the emphasis on the word boys.
So they are the right-wing Trump supporter group, or what the hell's that?
That's just it. They themselves don't even know what they are. They really don't.
How did you become an expert on these two groups?
I like bullies. As I said in my show many times, I like to address and shine a light on bullies. They have piqued my interest, and along with the now falling group called the Boogaloo Boys, but just boys basically with nothing better going on in their lives but to walk around with guns to feel like they've got some kind of power. That's all it is.
So they were supposed to have a clash. The clash never resulted. They started in downtown, one of the groups, the Proud Boys.
They didn't get the reaction they were looking for. So then they said, hey, we're going to show up at this. It's like being in high school and say, meet me at 3:00 at the playground off campus, and we're going to fight at 3:30. So they did the old bullies threatening the other side to come meet them somewhere, so they can get into it because they didn't get what they wanted downtown. Yeah.
So the Proud Boys don't like the anti-fascists, and the anti-fascists don't like the Proud Boys. Or the Antifa doesn't like the Proud Boys.
There is no, and that's what I keep trying to explain to all my right-wing friends. There is no group called Antifa. There is no headquarters for Antifa. Antifa is just an ideology. That if you're anti-fascist, you're against a totalitarianism and autocratic,
which I espouse in this show a lot because I hate government overreach.
Then you are Antifa in a sense.
But I got to tell you though, you say they're not organized, but there have been reporters who have infiltrated and taken classes with Antifa members on how to protect yourself during whatever you're doing.
Well, you could talk to me and say I just talked to a spokesman for Antifa. Like I said, I didn't say they weren't organized. I said that there is no group, there is no headquarters. It's more of a just a
you know what.
a mindset, a philosophy more than anything.
You need to infiltrate it.
There is nothing to infiltrate. You could be talking to somebody on a bus, or somebody walking down the street, and say, "Are you against totalitarianism?"
Well, how are they organizing? They're organizing a couple hundred the other day.
Yeah, but
that was
not
200 and something. They
but
said,
not under the flag of Antifa necessarily. Under the flag of justice and injustice and fighting the patriarchy, the white system of control, the supremacy thing. There's just people that gather whenever the Klan in Atlanta, where I just left, whenever the Klan does a rally at Stone Mountain, and then a bunch of white supremacist groups show up, nationalists, whatever. There's always going to be some faction of people that are against that with their signs saying, "To hell with you, go away." But they're not necessarily Antifa.
Okay, so the Proud Boys want to clash with this group.
Anybody brown and black, yeah.
So you're saying, the Proud Boys, you're saying, are racist white men who don't like
basically
the people of color in the black. That's your
under the
definition.
Is
this clearly defined by the authorities?
It's clearly defined that they are a hate group, and clearly defined that they are, in their minds, they're protecting America. That they're fighting for the values of America. That in their minds, they're patriots. They're actually nationalists, much like the Nazis were in the early 30s. The Nazi Party. So they're the same thing with a different name.
I'm glad I brought you on the show. You're very insightful about these two groups. Justin, is he accurate? Justin's been following this. He's been here longer than me.
There are some, that's the thing. That's the weird thing about the Proud Boys is that you see people who are different shades.
Oh yeah,
Proud Boys. You know what I mean? And you're like,
even a few black.
Right, that's right.
And Boogaloo too.
But it's like you said, they're more of a nationalist group than more of a racist color separating type of group. I say they want to put more emphasis on their principles and the power and country or whatever, and not so much separating races, but more just causing trouble. I feel like.
Are they the ones that are attributed then to the invasion of the Capitol and the riot?
No.
Who are those guys?
Those are Trump supporters,
but they're not Proud Boy.
There were a few in there.
I'm sure there was a few in there.
Yeah, and there were some that were organizing and controlling it. But again, Proud Boys is the same thing to me. They're all the same. They're people who have an ideology that they're patriots.
So the businesses were worried about it, so they shut down in downtown. A lot of them. You said you saw one.
I was in an AT&T store when they were talking about
an AT&T store downtown.
Yep.
I know the one.
Yep. And they were just debating with the manager whether they should even come in.
You were just in there listening?
I was on the phone
taking
care of some business, and they were talking about it, about whether they should shut. And the manager said, "I'm not shutting down. We can go in the back room, lock the front door for a minute while they're walking by, and then we can reopen. But I'm not shutting down the whole day." That was her take on it.
So you just happened to be there, or were you there poking around, looking for the problems?
I don't go poking. That's why I was talking to some of my.
Ironically, were there when the
that's right.
Proud Boys were supposed to gather.
No, I was there Saturday.
Oh, you were there Saturday.
Yes.
I was down there Saturday too.
Right. Yeah. So
nobody was worried about closing down on Saturday.
I got a nice chicken swarmer from Omaha Abu. It was wonderful.
I was in Powell's bookstore. I didn't see any concern about. There was Sunday's gathering that they were concerned about.
That's right.
But not Saturday.
Not Saturday.
I was actually going to go into downtown to pick up some shoes Sunday. I was like, well, I don't want to get caught in the middle of this crap. And right? You felt the same way. You don't want to get involved.
I'm not going to go because I'll get myself in trouble.
Because you're a troublemaker.
I kind of am. When I see bullies, I tend to want to fight.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that. Somebody going to get hurt.
That's why I have problems with Proud Boys and Antifa. I have problems with both of them. They both use the same kind of tactics, and I don't like it. When an anti-fascist is screaming at a little old lady trying to cross the street and, forcing her to do something else by force.
Absolutely.
You just became a fascist by pushing people around.
Well, that's a bully. That's just
exactly.
That's just
I feel like they're all
a tyrant.
It's just bullies.
But you can't. Here's the deal with that, and here's how I feel about it. You can't associate one or two extremists and lump them in with any one group. But with the Proud Boys, they're all extremists. They're all fanatics. So there's a difference. You may find a few people that are confused and they go out there, get Whitey, justice for the black man, whatever they're saying. But those are idiots. That doesn't represent me. And I'm Antifa, but he doesn't represent me. I'm not going to hurt anybody.
Well, there was a guy downtown over the weekend that was trying to hurt somebody. You brought this to my attention too.
So-
I try to follow local
some
news, but
old-
I avoid the TV news. But some old white guy with a 45, you said,
Yeah, and a
was,
funny hat. You
was
know,
shooting up,
just
the na-
walking, bam, bam, just
This is
popping
where?
off rounds downtown Portland. Yes,
like in
sir.
Pioneer Square or
Yeah, I
somewhere
don't-
around there.
Yeah.
He didn't hit
I
anybody.
have to go back on Instagram. I did no. All it was that
All it was shooting
he
in
was
downtown.
shooting rounds at people,
Yeah.
and the cops, instead of shooting him, which would have been the case in other circumstances.
Well, be blatant. You told me in the
if
back
he was
room.
black, he'd be 50. He'd be 50 bullets heavier right now in the morgue.
But because he was an old white guy, they let him off.
They held guns on him and told him to put the gun down.
That's pretty. I'll tell you, that's actually anywhere else. That I don't care, black or white. The guy's dead.
Well, he should have been, but
I can't believe they showed that kind of
He is-
restraint.
he is alive and well,
When you have a guy with a gun openly shooting downtown, if you're in Boston, he's gone.
and probably would be back out on the streets today or tomorrow with some kind of bail or a fine for disturbance of the peace.
So they did so without killing him, and then restrained him and got him into
Arrested him,
cuffs
put him
and
away,
and
took
put
him
him
away.
away.
Yeah,
Back
but
into
he'll
the
be-
insane asylum where he
No,
belongs.
he'll be on the streets if he's not already.
No,
Oh, I promise.
get out of
you.
here.
I'll-
They didn't
I'll
let
look
the guy
into it.
walk
I'll
out of
look
the
it-
jail after that.
I'll look into it.
Please,
No,
he's going to be doing time.
No, he's not. That's just all it is disturbing the
All right.
peace.
Well, this is Ray's perspective
Maggie,
here.
let's get on to Maggie.
No, not yet. Well, we will have a movie review today of Protege, which I will talk about
I
with
wanna
the
hear
actress
this.
Maggie Q. But that's a little bit. But
Margaret Quigley, Miss Margaret Quigley.
So they're doing this thing now in Central East Side Portland that I didn't see in downtown Portland when I went to the Deschutes Brewery. I finally happened upon it. It's my favorite brewery in Portland. It's just a enjoyable place to have a beer, and they have great beer, of course, and it's a famous brewery, and the interior is like the Taj Mahal of beer breweries. So I sat down casually, had a beer. Nobody bothered me about anything. I had my mask on when I walked through the doors, and I sat down. They poured me a beer and asked me. Then I go to the Central East Side yesterday, and there's signs everywhere on bars. Mask required and proof of full vaccination or vaccination. So they're starting this on that one side of the city, and the other side of the city, not a requirement. So I go into this little casual bar that I hang out at, and she says, "Do you have your vaccination card?" I'm like, "What? And when did you start this?" "Well, we're asking it now." So now I had to go back to my apartment. I just walked down the street and got my vaccination card and gave it to. I tried to talk to the owner. Says, "Look, can't you just believe me that I'm fully vaccinated and just so I don't have to walk?" And nope. You need the ID. I just think this is an incredible intrusion on my privacy. B, ineffective, because you could have the vaccination and just carry this virus around no problem anyway.
That's correct.
And this vaccination card doesn't prove jack shit about, whether you have symptomatic or asymptomatic, because you could be lying about that too.
But I didn't know that was a law that they could actually impose that.
It's not a law. It's that you're walking into my personal business,
okay.
and I can
Okay.
require what I want to require to serve you alcohol.
Okay.
So they're requiring that you prove that you've been vaccinated. You have to wear your mask, which, by the way, you walk into a bar with the mask on, then you sit down at a crowded bar
Right.
without a mask. So you tell me where the rationale is of the safety factor.
None.
The
None.
only way you could prevent spread of the virus is not by carding people to see their
Stay
vaccine.
home.
You either stay home or not go into a crowded bar where there are at least 10 feet between everybody. And if you really want to nip it in the butt so that restaurants and bars aren't an instigation or an area of transmission, we'd have to go into lockdown.
Right.
You have to close your doors. So
no
they're
argument here.
they're acting like the police,
Right.
the doctor, and the enforcer
Hmm.
of regulations that are neither a law is not mandating.
At this point, it just feels like everybody's just really frustrated, and they're just doing ridiculous things that they even
Well, I
know
wish
are not going to stop the spread.
I wish I would see people trying to be reasonable. And I wanted to talk to the owner in a reasonable fashion, but it would
No.
just, I had a young gal sitting at the bar and she yelled at me
No,
because
to talk-
I simply asked him,
Right.
when did you start requiring this? Because I was here a week ago, and you didn't. And this drunk gal at the bar, this little blonde 20-something, looks at me and says, "It's been going on since the pandemic. Where you been?" You know, this snide, disrespectful, rude, drunken snarl.
Yeah.
Where you? This has been going on since the pandemic. Where you been?
Was she
I'm like,
pre- was
oh,
she
really?
pretty?
It's funny because a week ago they weren't asking me for this vaccination card. Where you been? But I didn't want to get into it. I just ignored her.
Was
'cause
she
she's
pretty?
Yeah, didn't
she
do
was
much.
pretty.
She was just a cute little blonde in
She
some
was cute.
respects. Yeah,
Yeah, so that made it worse. That made it sting.
Drunken
That made
and
it sting.
obnoxious, and just
Yeah.
why you. Just another example of some Portland 20-something who doesn't know jack diddly about what they're talking about, and you can't raise the issue with the owner and ask them. I wanted to get into it. You know, I wanted to say, have you researched the effectiveness of this type of virus
Right.
and how this policy could even help? And they want to say
That's
they're
confrontational,
they're-
though.
yeah,
They
they're
take it as a
they want to be
confrontation.
safe, but
Yeah.
they're not, if you want to be safe, you got to shut down.
Right.
Otherwise, you're a place that's transmitting.
Any kind of conversation on it is seen as a pushback, and they're going to take it in a negative light.
It's just bullshit. And
Just
then
go
one
along, just go
side
along
of the
with it.
bridge they're doing one thing,
Right.
the other side of the bridge they're doing another.
Well, hang out on one side and not the other.
That event. Well, you know, things are going to change dramatically now because the FDA just approved Pfizer.
Saw that.
Because this was an emergency order by the country to allow the FDA to allow these vaccinations. So everybody was saying, well, until the FDA approves it, I'm not going to get this thing,
I've heard that.
So finally the FDA approved
And now
it.
they'll say they approved it too quickly. It was a rush job.
Now
So-
Biden's going to make a speech today at 1:30, I believe,
Thought he
Eastern
already
time.
did. Thought he already did.
Did he do it? No,
Yeah,
at
as I
1:30
was
they
leaving.
said.
Okay.
But about the FDA's granting approval to the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine.
That'll be a riveting 45 minutes.
The bottom line is now with the FDA approved, the federal government has, you can as a military, college, in hospitals, all these public schools, they can all say it's a mandate now and you have to get a vaccine to come to work or be on a ship. The military couldn't even do it till this was approved.
Right.
So you're going to see a sweeping move across the board by all of these. Businesses can do it, healthcare facilities, indoor places where people congregate, all can be mandated to have a COVID-19 vaccine. So you will see this in Oregon, of course, first and foremost. And it will be a sweeping move this week by the governor mandating all these certain, or the establishments themselves are going to mandate it, which I'm not opposed to at this point, right? I just want to get rid of this virus. I'm even buckling now to prove my damn vaccine, even though I know it's an intrusion of my privacy and I'm really offended by it. But I just, more than anything, I want to get rid of the virus. And this is the only way, a vaccine mandate. And that's even going beyond anything we've done in this country. Well, we did it with smallpox, right? You had to get measles. It was a mandate to get the vaccine. So we're at that point, and
whenever people compare the measles or polio to this aggressive flu, for lack of a better description, and I'm sure there are plenty of non-doctorate people out there that will have a better description of it. But to me, it's just an aggressive flu. I'm sure that the comparison of polio and such, really lethal and damaging that really affected and killed millions. I'm sure that's a great comparison for some, but for me, it's never really flown. So I don't.
Well, what do you think about?
Of course, I'd have
a vaccine mandate.
Ebola.
What about a vaccine mandate?
I don't agree with it, but that's just me. I mean,
what if the vaccine mandate produces the positive result that we're looking for, where we have herd immunity, and those first?
And the only way it will do that is if the vaccine creates such a lower reaction when you get the vaccine. If you get COVID, you don't cough and spit and choke and then you're not as contagious. Maybe that would be great, but I don't. Again, when I took mine, my doctor's very smart. She goes, the original COVID, I don't know about D, is very difficult to be infected, to contract. You basically got to be up in someone's face, and really giving them a full viral load. I said, okay, then what's the point of me taking this? She goes, well, if you get it, you won't go to the hospital and possibly die. I went, oh. I said, well, that's really not a motivating factor for me to take the jab then. But I did it because I wanted to go to England, and
Yeah, well, you're facing restrictions. You won't be able to go to restaurants and bars. You won't be able to
And I
work.
was fine with that.
You won't be able to work now if you don't have a vaccine in most places in America now that the FDA has done this approval.
But to make me somebody who doesn't care about the older people and people who have pre-existing illnesses, and 70% of the death rate was overweight people, whatever, and I
immune to compromised people.
So to make me the villain, and say I don't care about those people, I do. Make them stay home until this is done.
Well, we're beyond that now. That argument is pretty
that's
much
done now.
Dead.
It's dead now.
It's going to be a mandate for vaccinations, and this probably be the reason we get to herd immunity and finally get out of this pandemic and put it to rest. It's the only way it's going to happen. I'm sorry to say.
I tell you what won't happen
because
is I will not do a booster. I will not.
Well, there's still an argument whether that's even going to work or if it's necessary.
And then there's people that are scientists on the other side of the argument of boosters saying I don't know about the mRNA, but how they did this particular vaccination, but they're talking about a strain of the virus that mutates to being resistant to.
Yeah.
If that happens, you got a super virus.
Well, let's not go there yet.
I've
heard that
that's what I'm hearing.
Is a
I don't know.
variant.
I'm not a doctor.
The super virus, we could get there. It could be a serious problem. I hope it doesn't happen. If we can nip this in the butt before it can mutate to that point, that's how we'll rescue ourselves from such a scenario. So the only way is to really put this thing to rest with them. Everybody, like 95% of the people in this country have this vaccine, or 100%.
Well, we're 25 away.
It's a lot. They're saying we might gain 5% because of the mandate. And they say that's a lot. 5% gain, like 56%.
And so what are you going to do to those people who disobey or defy?
I don't know. That's another realm, right?
Do they get a mark on their permanent record that you're an ass?
They stamp your
passport.
Yeah, your
Most
passport.
of them don't have passports.
Yeah.
The people I'm thinking
What
about.
those that won't? Well, if they don't want to go work at a hospital, I can't believe healthcare and hospitals haven't mandated it because they have to operate under federal guidelines and approval. So now that this FDA approval has come, hospitals can mandate. Healthcare workers weren't. They were saying healthcare workers in the nursing homes were the worst spreaders, not the people in the homes. The elderly.
Have you ever been to one?
The healthcare workers were reluctant to get the vaccine.
Have you ever been to a nursing home? Because I have a mother in one now.
Well, not for a long time.
And my business, my company does a lot of senior citizen retirement type homes and the clinical homes for the elderly, because we have to remove mold and toxic stuff that's in leaks in the roof. Yeah. But if you see that the staff that works in those places, I can believe that they're not taking vaccinations.
So now they can mandate they do, and then they'll probably hold protests, and maybe they have a quit or hold a strike outside the nursing home. Who knows? Certainly this isn't going to go smoothly.
No,
nothing has in this thing. Why should it
will.
start now? It could be worse. We could be living in places like Thailand and Vietnam. You know what's going on in those countries now?
No, I haven't been paying it. I try not to watch
I just got an email
anymore.
from somebody, and they told me what was going on in Vietnam, and I was like, what? This just happened this past week. Vietnam has deployed troops in Ho Chi Minh City and prohibits residents from leaving their homes. Authorities are saying Friday this happened as the country's biggest city turns to drastic measures to slow a spiraling rate of coronavirus deaths. And this is from an article that I'm reading here in The Guardian, I think it is, or one of my news sources. Because when I got the email, I was like, I want to make sure this is true. Is this person overreacting? Yeah. So they're saying it's the toughest order yet to come out. There have 9 million people in Ho Chi Minh, and they're saying that they want people, companies, factories, all being shut down. The government said it was preparing to mobilize police and military to enforce the lockdown and deliver food supplies to citizens.
Yeah, not good.
Police and loudspeakers driving around residential areas, instructing people to follow the protocols.
But those cities are not like our cities. The people are more congested also, and the sanitary conditions are, a little bit further behind most, other countries.
But, the military to keep, that's a true lockdown.
Yeah.
Now in New Zealand.
21 cases. Just lock it down.
Lockdown.
Which
3-day nationwide lockdown is now a 7-day shutdown. And in Thailand, they're also Australia urging compliances, curfews imposed on cities, worst affected suburbs. This is what's going on around the world now.
But the people showing up in mass, en masse, protesting and getting violent in the streets over this. That's in Australia, especially. That's people really don't want to be told what to do.
They're struggling to contain, and it's all because of the Delta variant. Let's be clear about that. This Delta variant is so strong, it's getting into the people that haven't been vaccinated. And these countries have a lot of. New Zealand has less than 22% fully vaccinated. Right. I was shocked to hear that.
I didn't know that.
The Philippines are
but you have to think
easing the curbs.
Yeah.
So they're going to nut. But Thailand hit 1 million cases. That's a lot of people. 97% of which
this late in the day
were recorded in the past 5 months.
And this late in the day in the game. Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's it's like having another.
But where did see? That's what I'm saying, and I said it in the beginning. Not that I'm a prophet, but it's going to mutate. Every virus we've ever had does.
Well, yeah, the Delta variant is,
and so the Delta, the Epsilon, the Kappa, the Beta, the Psi, Sigma, Alpha, whatever. It's going to keep mutating and keep surviving because, like human beings, it wants to live.
Well, so as bad as it is here, it could be worse. The only thing I'm waiting, absolutely. I'm just hoping we don't go into a lockdown mode again.
I thought we were, kind of.
Well, lockdown is you can't leave your residence, or if you do, it's just for food. Like, in last spring. And lockdown mode is businesses can't be open.
Well, I thought they were open, down of restaurants. But they were putting the table in front of the door and just giving you the food out the door and you can walk away with it. That's what everybody's doing over by my area.
No, I told you I was in the Deschutes Brewery. And
I guess it depends on the business.
I ate at the Russian restaurant up the street.
I guess it depends on the business.
Yeah, and believe me, when I was in the Russian restaurant up the street, it's Russian food, Ukrainian.
Right.
They said mostly, but it was packed. Yeah. I mean, I actually moved down the bar when some people left, so I wasn't so close to the 3 people sitting next to me, and I was directly in front of the bartender mixing drinks.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, this ain't the best area. For me as an individual, I'm also trying to. No, well, the bartender was, but nobody else was in the restaurant.
Okay.
So you have, and then down the street, right next door, there's a bar making mask mandate and vaccine checks. So you don't have any rhyme or reason going on around this city as to who's doing what and where and why. But like I said, it could be worse. We could have, a complete lockdown. And God, we got to avoid that because that'll be an economic downturn and catastrophe that will just set everything back financially. Jobs will be lost again. We'll have to go on enhanced unemployment programs and yada, yada. So let's just avoid being New Zealand and Vietnam, which I just read about. Okay, let's switch gears now to my movie review today, The Protege. Rescued as a child by the legendary assassin Moody, Anna is the world's most skilled contract killer.
Oof.
When Moody is brutally killed, she vows revenge for the man who taught her everything she knows. Yeah, that's how it reads. Very exciting and riveting. So I went there to see it, of course, for my movie review, and starring Maggie Q, who I'm not familiar with. It's actually the
Margaret Quigley, yes.
first time I saw her on the big screen, and she plays the lethal killer. Yeah. Of course, the movie opens with a lethal killing of her, going into 3 Russian guys,
always Russian,
taking them out right at the beginning with a swift 3 moves and a stab, and then on her way, and as everybody shoots at her, about 1,500 rounds, unscathed, walks away with Samuel Jackson in the car, and then a few jokes, and they're out.
That's it.
And
if you remember, I mean, Maggie Q has been, a veteran and has been fighting. And part of my heart goes out to her as a brown girl, that she's been trying to break into acting for years. She's done a lot of bit parts on really good movies. Not really good, but just Hollywood mainline movies that got big budgets. She's had parts, so it's not that she has no experience or no resume. But as a brown girl, Asian, Hawaiian, my heart goes out to her that she has been trying to break in like all of the other actresses that seem to have effort. Jennifer Lawrence, Emma Stone, all these other people. But I have to say, it's like Pamela Anderson had a movie called Barbed Wire. Remember that?
Yeah, Barbed Wire. Terrible.
They're just
movie.
actresses who just, in my opinion, they want it more than they have the ability to do it.
And that's exactly the case for this movie. She could not carry this movie. She didn't have the physicality, which you said she had a spine injury, and 5 months later,
2 months
after
before,
having her a fusion done.
2 months before this role, apparently, which that's Hollywood.
Well, I got to be honest with you. The way she was running around, she looked like she had a spine.
And Jackie Chan was on this.
She wasn't nimble as you should be in this type of role. She wasn't physical enough to be carrying out, I feel, these dominant situations of fighting. Michael Keaton plays like her protege, and she's the protege of Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton walks in one scene, and
to lend credence
gives a business guy and is trying to pick her up, and he's what, I don't know how old Michael Keaton is. He's like
64?
Born in 61, so he's 60 years old.
60,
and he's trying to pick this girl up, and Maggie's like
she's 30, 40.
She was born in 79,
38, something like that.
Anyway, it was like kind of awkward. Right, Michael, come on. She's a little young for you. And Michael doesn't play the type of guy who's really in a fighting mode, martial arts master. And so he's miscast.
Right.
Big time.
Well, they need the
She's
names.
miscast big time.
They need the names.
And by the way, the writing was really bad. The story as it was unfolding was just stupid. And it was sporadic action throughout. I lasted 45 minutes and had to walk out.
Yeah.
I was just like, it was slow. I mean, she's constantly being shot at, and nobody seems to be able to hit her.
Right.
And she's not that fast, it doesn't seem either.
Yeah, I would never have gone to see that.
A few of the scenarios that developed in the first half an hour or so were so foolish and stupid to watch.
And I'm sad that Samuel L. Jackson was in it. I mean, don't end your career
both Michael Keaton and Samuel L. Jackson. What are you doing? This was like a B movie at best.
Don't end your career doing movies
this
like
was one of those.
Not even as a favor to somebody.
They should have never put stars in it. They should have just had B actors and left it at that.
Right.
And kept it a B movie.
To bring in the names to lend credence. I love Samuel L. Jackson. He's amazing, a genius. Don't go out like this.
Terrible movie. I walked out again as my second walkout. Suicide Squad, and now this Protege movie. Of course, I see it at the wonderful Cinemark Theater in East Coast. How do we say Eastport Plaza, Century 16. But my rating is Burnt Bag is like the very worst rating, up to a full bag of butter popcorn. And this one has to get a burnt bag. I just really thoroughly hated it.
I think you could go further. I think you could go further and put dick in the bag. Like when the guys put the bag over there and the girl reaches in to get the popcorn. Okay, maybe not.
You take it to another level.
No. Now you see the look on his face. He's completely shocked.
That's okay, Ray. I expect this from you. And Ray has his own show, Halfcast, which you can have your own rating system and have the dick in the bag is the worst one if it makes you. But for me, it's the burnt bag of popcorn protege. I also just wanted to finish off by mentioning in the Screen Actors Guild magazine, which I get because I'm a SAG member, even though I never hear from my SAG union here in Portland.
I used to be a SAG member.
This is the summer 2021 magazine. And they have some in memoriams here that I didn't realize these people passed away.
Ooh.
Ned Beatty.
Ned Beatty, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't
Ned
know
Beatty?
that?
No,
Yeah.
well, look at him. I'm reading it because I don't know. I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I may have heard it, but I'm remembering again these people that passed away because quite a few did, including Charles Grodin,
Really? Yeah. I remember that. No, I do remember that one.
Olympia Dukakis.
She just finished Tales of the City, the new edition, when she passed away.
Good tidbit there, Justin.
Yeah.
Thank you. Norman Lloyd. You might not really know the guy from his name, but you've probably seen him in a movie. He died at 106 years of age. Prolific actor, producer, director.
God bless him.
A true Hollywood institution in his career, paralleled much of the history of film itself. These are one of those great old actors, right? He had made, I think I saw him. He seemed like, he looked like the guy that was in, I wanted to look this up because I watched it a million times, The Social Network, and played the Harvard president it looked like him, but I don't know. Maybe that was somebody that looks like him. So I just wanted to go in. You can see some other.
Who else died?
I always look at obituaries, and I'm curious, especially about actors. And
Give us more.
there's a list of all. Look at all the people that passed
See if
away.
anybody comes to mind with me. DMX? Did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah,
See,
you didn't know
that's-
that?
Nah, I did not know
How
that.
old was DM?
I
How
don't
old?
know. I don't know.
They have the in.
Oh, Clarence Williams. See, I'm only picking the black people.
Oh, jeez. Well, I know a lot of people die there, but it's not as dead as this bit right now.
This
Only
isn't a
the
bit.
black
We're
people.
Oh
trying,
no,
we're
the
trying-
Love Boat captain's gone.
Only the black
The
people.
Love Boat.
Oh yeah, Captain Stupid.
Oh, is he? Did he?
Gavin's
Gavin
gone.
McLeod, yeah.
He's
Oh,
gone.
see what I mean? How old was he? Does it say?
Old.
He's old. He's dead. Doesn't matter anymore.
He was old on the episodes I'm watching on Millennium TV or whatever it is.
Yeah, I felt bad for Ned Beatty after Defiance. I mean, not Defiance, Deliverance. Yeah. Felt bad for everybody. Just keeps coming back to that one scene. You know,
Squeal like a pig.
yeah, you got
Did you
it.
ever see that racist movie, The Toy, with
No.
Richard Pryor
Oh yes,
and Jackie
that one.
Gleason?
That-
Ned Beatty plays
Nice.
the Jackie Gleason's like chief guy. Has to try to explain to Richard Pryor that they want him to. He wants to buy a friend.
That's I remember that. I did.
Terrible
watch that.
movie.
I did watch that.
Well, I looked up the Social Network just to complete my research, and it wasn't Norman Lloyd in there. Obviously, he was too old for that movie. Well, there are some great actors in my Screen Actors Guild magazine that I get because I'm a member, and one day maybe I'll be back on the great screen as an actor doing something worthwhile with my life. But
Oh.
all right, that does it for today's show. Thanks, Ray Lane, for joining me. Citizen Ray, he has his own show, Half Cast. Provocative. You're going to Portland State University to interview college students this afternoon
Yes, I am.
about the situation in Portland.
It's about some things.
All right, on his show, you can hear that. Have a great day. I'm Citizen Smith. I'll talk to you tomorrow.